3 years and 2 lockdowns to finish writing his first ever book, but was it worth the wait?
My Lifey is Paddy McGuinness' new autobiography. It's out tomorrow, and he's here now to talk all about it. Nice title. Good title.
Thank you. It was going to be called Girl Power originally.
Was it?
It was the title for a long, long time because everyone in my life, every role model I had growing up was a woman.
Oh.
So even in the job I do now, all my bosses are women. So I kind of thought, well, all through my life I've been steered by strong women.
Kevin Lygo's probably quite upset about that.
Sorry?
Kevin Lygo will be quite upset about that.
Don't work with him anymore. So deal with it, Kev. So yeah, that was the title, and they said change it at the last minute because they didn't want people thinking they were buying a book about the Spice Girls, and I'm sat in there giving it, hello, you know what I mean? So it changed to that, My Lifey.
But you know what? I guess the original kind of girl power woman in your life was your mum, and she had that kind of... Right from the get-go, you describe your upbringing in Bolton and the fact that there she was kind of running all of these jobs under the sun just to keep life afloat for the parents.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, I think growing up for me in a single-parent household was the norm. You know what I mean? And if I ever went to anyone's house when I was a kid, believe it or not, who had a dad there...
Yeah.
I never liked it because the dad was always bad-tempered and... Because they were kind of wicked nice in a factory or something. So whenever kids went round, the dad would be really grumpy, like, get them out the house, you know, I want to get some sleep. So for me, dads were like, oh, God, I'm glad I'm at home with my mum, because my dad used to visit me at the weekend and he was always in a good mood. But he was in a good mood because he didn't have to deal with, like, you know, all the things parents deal with all week. So as a kid, I had this sort of skewed vision of, like, my mum was the one who set the rules and everything. My dad would come at the weekend and take me out and take me for something to eat, and I think, oh, this is great, you know. So I liked it like that. Yeah, I liked it like that.
You say that, I think you describe yourself as wayward when you were younger, and there was actually, because you think, oh, good, how life works out, because there you are, Top Gear, incredible show, driving the best cars in the world, and there you were as a kid, sleeping in the footwell under the carpet that you'd ripped up in abandoned cars. Yeah,
but, you know, you forget stuff from your earlier life. And when I sat down writing and things come, oh, God, it's as though it were a different person. But, yeah, we did. We kind of, like, we'd spend a lot of time out and about, me and my mates, on the streets and what have you. And we always knew there'd always be abandoned cars about, funny enough, in Bolton. So it just, like, it didn't even seem strange to us that we'd sort of get into the cars and rip the footwell out, like you say, make a little blanket and have a lovely little sleep. And yeah, lovely, nice. But, and it is, you're right, and now I'm almost in Top Gear, and it's just kind of like the most weirdest thing ever. But yeah, those are the things I used to do growing up. It was just the norm.
Do you know what I found really weird? And I think a lot of people looking at, especially where you are in your career today, and they'll go, that can't be possibly right. But as a kid, you were incredibly shy.
Yeah.
And are you still now, a bit?
Yeah, of course. I think in the job we do, you do become a heightened version of yourself on telly. But normally, I mean, listen, if I'm out with you two and what have you, and I'm with friends, it's different. You're relaxed. But walking into a room... I remember I used to struggle at school or college. I'd miss full lessons, even if I were 5 minutes late, because I couldn't bear the thought of walking into a class 5 minutes late. Even though I knew the teacher and all my friends, just the fact that everyone would turn around and look at you, which is weird, even though I'm in a job now which is like all eyes are on you, or especially if you're doing anything live on stage. So back then, I'd be frozen. So I'd just sort of, they used to call it wagging school back in the day. So I'd sort of bunk off school and that'd be me. I just won't go in because I was 5 minutes late.
Well, you say that, I mean, you were the main breadwinner at one stage in the house, sort of stacking shelves in Morrison's and stuff like that, Warburton's. And you've known Peter Kay since you were kids, and it was a chance bumping back into him that set this shy kid off on a whole different road. Yeah,
well, weirdly enough, because I was doing the thing of not going into my lessons at college, I just happened to be skipping another class with some friends, and I saw Peter. He was back in the day then, like camcorder. Everyone's got videos on the phone, but he had a big camcorder. He was doing a course at the college, and I was like, "Oh, I have not seen you for ages." And we got chatting again, and I said, "What you up to?" And he said, "Oh, I'm doing a bit of comedy." And he said, I'll do a few gigs. And I said, oh, I'll come with you one night. And that's how it came about. I went to him with a club in Manchester, a famous comedy club called the Frog and Bucket. And we went there together and I watched him and he did, like, whatever, 15 minutes on stage. And I've mentioned this before, but that's what piqued me interest when he got his wages. I think he got about 40 quid or something, whatever. And at the time, I wasn't earning that in the shift. And you're right. When I lived at home, I had to bring money in for my mum to sort of, you know, bills and everything else. So I was like, well, I'm not earning that in a shift, what I was doing at the time. I'll give that a go. So it was purely a financial decision to do it. And that's how I came about getting back in with Peter and being mates again and all the rest of it. It just snowballed.
And it did snowball. But when you were writing for him as well, and you were writing sort of scenes within these sitcoms, you were holding down another job. I think there was a leisure service.
Yeah, I wrote... there's a famous scene in Phoenix Nights where... I'm not sure what the right terminology is now because...
just a scene.
Yeah, a scene with people in it. And I wrote all that, sat down at my desk at the Leisure Centre on Leisure Centre-headed notepaper, wrote the full scene, and then went in the day after and Peter was writing with Neil and Dave on Phoenix Nights. And I said, what do you think about that? And he looked at it, he really liked it, and he put it in, and so that was like a really proud moment for me. I was like, oh,
Makes your confidence grow, I bet.
It makes your confidence grow, and then you kind of think, oh, I wouldn't mind doing that myself. You know what I mean?
You sort of started this chat talking about strong women, and you lost your mum, and that's one of the hardest things to write, I think. When I wrote about losing my dad, I cried for ages and ages.
Of course you do. I remember writing the book. Doing that, I actually say that in the book. I say I'm in tears writing this because a bit like when you talk about like being in the cars and what have you, you know, sleeping in them, and you forgot about all that. You kind of, I think any kind of grief, unfortunately in life, we've all got to go through it at some point, and you'd never get over it, but you kind of learn to cope with it, and it gets easier with time. So when you go revisiting those memories, it is horrendous, you know. But I wanted to put it in the book because it's a part of my life, and I'm glad I did. And at the end of it, then, even though you have a good cry, you then recall all the amazing things that used to happen and everything else in and around that. So you know,
nice to
it's
live
in
those
there.
moments again.
Yeah, of course.
And there are great moments. You talk about your family, Christine, and the kids as well.
Yeah.
You talk about your mental health in there. So really, there's a lot of laughter in here, but there's a lot of really sort of serious points as well.
Yeah, I think with anyone, where I were diagnosed with clinical depression, you're not aware of it yourself.
Yeah.
If you're ever in that kind of thing in your head, it's other people who tell you.
It's also when you talk out about it. I mean, it's such a massive help, I think.
Yeah, but I struggled putting it in the book purely because I thought to myself, I didn't want people to think, oh, it's another celebrity talking about that. Do you know what I mean? Because people
Paddy,
can
when
do
you
it
write
that way.
about it, it's so important. And this is the book that we're talking about here, and it's out tomorrow.
Yeah, it is.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Is that it? Is that the real?
This is the real one.
Is that?
Yeah, you have a copy. You might like that.
Thank you.